The irony of my journey is I was involved in music and around people in music from family to friends, and I had no idea I was going to be in it. So what I realized now is like I was studying the industry before I knew I was going to be in the industry. And so, like, as you can see behind me, a few of the greats, Whitney Houston, Michael is a little bit above my head. I watched all these people and heard the stories and watched behind the scenes. And it was literally that was the goal. If you had talent, you went to a label that could not only harness that talent.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Jastin Artis, a multi-passionate music entrepreneur, keynote concert speaker, and AR coach who's on a mission to revolutionize the music industry by putting the artist back at the center. As the founder of AR in Your Pocket, Jastin brings over 2 decades of experience as an AR engineer, producer, recording artist to help creatives master both their sound and their strategy. Through his coaching, Jastin empowers independent artists to find their voice, own their business, and build sustainable careers in music. His work blends deep industry expertise with personal mentorship, offering artist development, sync licensing through his new division Sync Craft, and immersive keynote concerts that fuse performance with powerful storytelling. And it's a pleasure for me to have him on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Jastin.
Rexhen, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'm honored, man.
Thank you for coming, Jastin. It's a pleasure for us to have you on. So wanted to learn a little bit more about your beginnings and dive into all of this. Initially, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Yes. Well, first, let me not forget, thank God for being here. I want to show love to my wife, Kelly. I love you. And my boys, Jameis. I love you too. Jameis, rest in heaven. And a big shout out to Jace, because I don't know when this will air, but his birthday is coming in September. So happy birthday. What started it all? Man, I think for most in the creative space, you kind of fall into it. I never had a passion, desire, thought that I would be a creative, yet alone coaching and teaching and educating people about the craft, the ins and outs of what I've learned since I've started 20 some years ago. And it was really one of those things that I started songwriting, and this was before Google, YouTube, University. So I was hitting the libraries. I was in school at the time, and I was a poet, something I did probably since elementary school. And one day in college, I was like, well, let me see if I can write a song. I was teaching myself how to play guitar, and it was just one day I said, hey, let me try this. I tried it, not knowing what I was doing. I was just using the same methods of writing poetry, and I fell in love. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Yes, I think I want to do this. And so I went to the library, got books to read about the industry, songwriting, and I was hooked. And so the first 10 years was just, I want to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be an artist. I felt like it was too big of a responsibility. And I would say probably around the 4th or 5th year, you become that guy or girl that's, hey, Jastin does this music stuff. Everybody uses that term music stuff or the music thing. And word started to get around. And so I became that person that people wanted to, try their hand in music. And so I started just sharing what I knew, what I had learned. And that part really was like, oh man, I love sharing this. So I would say that's probably the second round of how the A&R aspect came about for me in teaching and recognizing talent, recognizing people's voices, even recognizing that, hey, that's not you. You have great talent, but that's not your real voice. You're just doing what's trending, whatever it is to get signed. And I think about probably another 10 years-ish, maybe less. I really was like, you know what? I want to be an A&R. That's the dream. And, I've been independent now. The bigger dream was to go to a label and be that A&R, but just put that in the back burner. If it happens, great. But it's one of those things, you got to stand on your own and do it how you feel to do it, right? So
So cool. It's such an interesting story. It's almost no coach has actually thought about it, and most of them have fallen into coaching. It's not something you just like think about it growing up as a kid or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Maybe this new generation will. Like my son could probably want to do that. He's about to be 12, but you know what I'm saying? I think this younger generation has more opportunity than folks that are a bit older. So it is kind of cool.
Yeah, because before it wasn't a thing, right? So it's fairly a fairly new kind of like profession in a way. So right now, when think about like the last 2 years for your coaching business, first of all, I want to understand when you're going through the coaching journey with your clients, what would you say? What about it do you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
The reward is so forgot to note this. I started teaching at a time where it was like I just needed money, right? It was in '08. The world crashed and
Mm-hmm.
it was just very difficult to make money and figure out what you were doing. And I was serving at the time. And I finally took the step to substitute. And that really opened up my eyes that I'm a teacher, right? So I think it's very parallel to teaching. And though I didn't have my certification, I was a student aide, but I will say I was one of the best. I had teachers that wanted me to teach their class, right? Doing different programs, just really listening to the students to find out what they want and connecting with them in a way that was relatable, not talking at them, but talking to them. And in the same way, seeing a student go from even like the problem child, right? I dealt with that too in terms of day treatment centers and group homes. You see them go from like the problem child, and then when they find somebody like me to connect with, they're doing what everybody expects them to do. But I think the reward was just seeing them try, seeing them know that they could do it, seeing them grow. I think that's the biggest part is growth. And so meeting people across the globe where they are, what they've been told, what they've been conditioned, all these things, and they meet me, who's a guy that I'm going to hear you, I'm going to listen to you. I want to merge like what their vision is, but I'm also looking at what internally for me, I just see, right? What the truth is about them. And as they listen, right? Which can be hard, you see them grow in the same way. You see them, some people are more focused on finding their sound, which is finding their voice, right? Like I mentioned earlier, they're not trying to do what the trend is. They're not trying to sound like literally sound like another artist, but they're really developing core skills that make them the great artists that they are, the great artists that I see in them, right? And then I think at the time that we're in 2025, the mindset change. That's a big part of what I do is want people to understand that they're a leader when they're
Mm-hmm.
creative. Especially in music, it's just baffling how much people want to depend on a label or get signed to the big labels and things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of things that go along with it that people don't realize. And I think there's so much access to knowledge and technology that, again, you don't have to go to a label. You can do it yourself. You can find the right people like myself
Mm-hmm.
to help you develop. And so just seeing that aspect of like, I'm not a leader, but then you meet me and you like, wait a minute, I guess I am. And then you start to lead in that way. Even a baby step is still a step, right? So just seeing that grow from day one to day two. And then I think finally the bigger aspect too is like after you worked with someone, I keep in touch. So Reggie, I'm not like the guy that's like, you're just a number to me. If we connect and we work together, I'm following you for life, right? I'm checking in on you not only as your career, but your personal life, because that's a big part of, especially as creatives, what fuses what we create. So I think that's a big fun part too, is just, I know somebody 2, 3 years ago, or even if it
Mm-hmm.
was like 6 months ago and we're done working, but seeing what they're doing now, I think is just, again, it's like being a teacher. It's like being a parent. You're just kind of big, proud parent.
It is so interesting how, like, when coaching kind of entered as a thing, as a new industry, because you were saying like you don't necessarily have to have a label or to go to a label and just like before it was just that, right? It
Yep.
was like the
That,
only
that,
path.
I feel like from what I've watched, because the irony of my journey is I was involved in music and around people in music from family to friends, and I had no idea I was going to be in it. So what I realized now is like I was studying the industry before I knew I was going to be in the industry. And so, like, as you can see behind me, a few of the greats, Whitney Houston, Michael is a little bit above my head. I watched all these people and heard the stories and watched behind the scenes. And it was literally, that was the goal. If you had talent, you went to a label that could not only harness that talent, but of course, be the machine behind you. I think if you did anything outside of that, you were looked at like, whoa, you're crazy. Like, why would you do that? You don't have enough people. You don't have a team. You were just looked at funny. And so now that we're in a time where, especially with streaming, has changed a lot too, it's not something you need. And that's kind of the point that I try to sense about people, because sometimes people just come off that way like, yeah, I'm trying to get signed. Oh, sign me, find me a label. Like, and I'm just like, is that really what you want? Or are you just saying that because that's what you grew up seeing, right? Like, you're conditioned to think that.
Yeah. Yeah, and just for me to understand, because I'm not very like into the music or like the artist industry, what does a label typically do for the artist? I'm just trying to understand a little bit. Like, let's say if 20 years ago you didn't have a coach, you went to a label and they didn't take you in, what happened? You just like, it was there, ended, nothing for
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people?
To be honest, yeah, for most people. But yeah, they're the machine behind every aspect of creating music. So getting the producers, the songwriters, especially if you didn't write for yourself, getting the creative people to create the songs. That's obviously, nothing moves without a great record, right? So they had the insight, the people, the connections, what have you, to get the right people to make these songs. And then the other aspect is getting it out, right? So, doing the release plans, which is, what you see now where, hey, this is coming out in such and such month. The cycle of, you get a single, first single comes out for a few months, then the next single may come out, then the album comes out, the marketing, the promotion.
I see.
When you see, especially an artist that you've never seen before, and let's say, I'll use one of my favorites, Tori Kelly. I knew she was going to be big. She's great. She actually hears this. What's up, Tori? I think I saw her first on the BET Awards, if I'm not mistaken. And, this Black culture, this Black and urban music. And she's not Black, but instantly it was like, yo, this girl can sing. And now, of course, I'm like, I don't care where you're from, what color you are, what have you. But I just knew probably from 30 seconds in that, yo, she's going to be dope. I can't wait to see how they're going to roll her out. And Rexhen, before you know it, I saw her there. I think it was another award show. Then I think she might have come out with a single. And I just watched that whole path to where she is now. I think she's maybe 5, 6 albums in. She's sung with some of the greats. So all of that motion that we see from interviews to award shows to this, and that's what a label who has a budget, right? So we're talking about the bigger labels, can do for an artist. But in most cases, what most artists don't know, if they get an advance, that's a loan, right? So all this money that the label has that oftentimes they give you in the beginning, you have to pay it back through hopefully what your album sells, generating other things. Now, for the smaller labels, independent labels, ideally it's the same thing, but over the years, I've seen how that's been different. Some people focus more on the creative side. Some people do a bit of both, but it's just not as strong because they don't have a bigger budget. So things can be a little more organic, maybe oftentimes a bit slower, but ultimately that's what a label is doing, from creating the music all the way to getting it to the listener as best they can.
Thanks so much for sharing all of that. Now, for anyone who's listening, and just for us to also clarify this a little bit more, is when it comes to the people that you work with, your type of client, how would you describe that ideal client profile? We know the industry, but like, is there like, would you say a certain demographic that you typically find yourself working more, or how would you describe? Is there some like common goals, commonalities that you see?
Yeah. So all due respect to everyone in music, but we're in a time where everybody and their mama does music, right? You can find people on the internet very quickly. You could go outside right now and be like, hey, who does music? And I guarantee you at least 5 people will come up to you, right? So it's very easy to find artists, but the ideal artist for me is a person that know they need support. They're open-minded about how to get to the next step. And, whether they have fully found their sound and voice or not, I mean, that's just kind of more opportunity. If they haven't, then it's like, okay, I know exactly where I need to start with you. If I sense that they really know their voice, obviously that's still development, right? I've been an artist for 15 years and I'm still developing my sound and all of that. But then we kind of focus on other things, right? So you want somebody, well, for me, I want somebody that's very open to that, to listening, because I know how hard it can be, but it's necessary. Even A-list artists still develop, whether it's a business mindset or new things and strategies, or it's about their craft. They're always developing. And so when I see that an artist, especially now, they can go viral, they can do these short-term goals and wins, but I see a lot of people are arrogant after that. They go viral once or twice, heck, let's say 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're there, but how are you sustaining that? How are you dealing with the opportunities that are coming in? What is right for you versus just getting the bag, as they say now, right? So I'm looking at all of those things and trying to understand where they are. So I definitely have a process, like most of us do, where you can really decide after they answer some questions, the type of intake. I call it artist profile form, where I ask specific questions about their mindset. What have they done? Are they making money? Their goals and that type of thing. And then obviously the services that they may want to take. But so for me, it starts with music artists, but I'm actually open to any creative, because I think, again, we're in a space where it's not just music or film, right? We're content creators. Everyone has something to give and can monetize. But as we know, it's all about strategy. It's about the truth that you're bringing. And it's my job to kind of figure that out. So I think even with my background in education and music, that can still translate into other industries or other types of creativity.
And how is the engagement like? So we know kind of like what they would be expecting, and it's definitely very, very valuable for these people. So how would you describe the engagement actually? So is it like a certain program of a certain length, a certain time they have to work with you? How would you describe that engagement? I'm guessing, is it one-on-one? Is there group coaching or things like that?
Yes. So it's typically one-on-one. Just more recently, I'm looking at an aspect of group coaching. So like I translated from when I used to teach, I used to do small groups. So it's like reading and math were usually the core subjects. And so I would have like 5 or 6 people that I was working with each day, most of the time. And so finally, after doing it myself in some of these master classes, courses, and things that I've done, I do like that aspect. But, nothing beats one-on-one, because every person is different, right? So I lead with one-on-ones, and I give options where, for me, to have real growth, you have to have time. So one session or even a month of services, it's not going to get you, I think, what you really want. So I try to give, subscription plans, 3, 6, 12 months. Of course, that's depending on budget. But ideally for me, I think you got to spend some time with me, because we can create, so I teach in a way of creating the music. I used to do it in a way of like, well, let's start here and let's work on this and let's do these things first and then we create music. Now I'm more, well, let's just create the music and I can teach you about, hey, well, in this aspect, you want to do this or you want to think about this. How are you? So I kind of teach as I go. And I think time is only a true teller of the results, right? But some people, again, in this fast world, everyone wants, hey, I just need my song mix. Or I want a production, or cool, that's fine. I'm there for those people too, but I am really all about the long haul.
Interesting. So where do you typically find your clients, or where do clients find you? Is there a certain marketing channel? And this is a question more for the
Yeah.
coaches.
Yeah. No, I just hold a sign up, outside and say, hey, I do music. Come, but no, there's obviously a lot of music communities, circles, creative communities. Like I am doing more, I don't know, I guess it's all the same, but I guess I just been more open to not just staying within music, because, a lot of people are multi-hyphenated now. They do a lot of different things. Even if you do photography, you still might be an artist, right? Or a producer or whatever. Even if you're a filmmaker, you might still do music, right? So being more open to that. Obviously, social media is great. LinkedIn is my favorite place to meet people. I know people know it's more professional, but I like to say that it just it kind of cuts out the BS of the people that you may not want to work with. If I know you contact me on LinkedIn, you're either the professional or close to the professional that you want to be, or you're growing into it. It's your first step of like, let me take this seriously. Because I hear it all the time. Nobody knows about LinkedIn. People, LinkedIn, I don't know about it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
it is the greatest thing, probably where I get my most engagement. And I'm grateful now, Rexhen, that I don't necessarily have to always look. People are coming into my DMs now,
Mm-hmm.
connecting, and I try to just utilize that. But yeah, most of the time it's these multi-channels, communities like Telegram, WhatsApp, now like on IG, I forgot what it's called, but yeah, you have the channel thing now. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can just join people like an artist channel just to see what they're about even before you even talk with them. So, and then of course, word of mouth, that's always
Yeah.
the greatest thing. So I'm always open, man. I'm never like, I'm too
Mm-hmm.
cool not to meet anywhere. And of course, events, due to my health, I haven't been able to get out like I usually do, but that's obviously an easy one. Whether I'm performing or speaking, I can meet people that way. Sometimes I just go just to sit back. But I guess I have an aura and people kind of like, hey, what do you do? And all right, I
Yeah.
guess I'll talk today. You know what I mean? So that's always another kind of easy way to meet people and find out what's going on.
Well, I like that you have like multi channel setup. So it's like the referrals, which are a very good way, especially with previous clients. Then LinkedIn, that is great. That has been the case for most coaches, but I guess most coaches I've interviewed have been in that professional realm.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for them, and in your case, I thought, could it be Instagram or is it LinkedIn? So
yeah,
I like that
yeah.
it's LinkedIn, and I can see that when an artist is really thinking about it seriously, potentially is also going to be on LinkedIn. So it makes a lot of sense. So right now, how would you like look into the future for the next 1 to 3 years? Do you have any like specific goals you're working towards with your
Man,
coaching business?
brother, that's the question. Yes, absolutely. I'll start here, right? I've been an entrepreneur full time in music since 2019. Fortunately, the reason that I just jumped out to do it was because I had lost a job that I just re-signed a contract for, and I lost my second child, James, who I mentioned earlier. And it was
Sorry to
all
hear
very,
about
thank you, thank you. It was very unexpected. But when I started to do the job hunting, this is my thought process, and I feel like most people are like this, right? At the time, I had 2 degrees, a BA in English and a master's in entertainment business. I'll get another job. It's not what it used to be, but between my education and my background, this sucks, but I'll get another job. Man, after the first 3 months, it was like crickets. I mean, I was going on interviews. People loved me, my personality, my background experience, but I wasn't landing the job. And I finally said, you know what? God, I got to step out. I have to step out because all these years I've been working the day job, like most of us, and then music was the second job, or the third or whatever, but I put my hours in. And so to see it evolve from just jumping out, like, I don't know how this is really going to go,
it. Hmm.
but I got to do it. The evolution has been pretty dope, but unfortunately, my health has changed drastically. So I'm constantly thinking about how do I pivot? How do I manage my health that's, oftentimes attacking me daily and still be this go getter that I am, right? So just recently, a few years ago, I made a yearly goal of like 100K, didn't reach it. So, the next year, which I think is this year, yeah, I'm like, I'm going to do 150K. Like, I'm just going to up it, right?
Hmm.
So in terms of revenue, I want to see that, but I also want to see the balance of me taking care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, while helping the next person who actually might be dealing with chronic health
Hmm.
and running their business, right? It's a very elite space to be in, especially when, Rexhen, you can't see that I'm hurting.
Hmm.
Oftentimes people's, I got the smile, I look good. You don't see the ailments, but you don't know what it took for me to be in front of you today or do a post or
Hmm.
reach, go in these communities to reach out to each client, right? And so I'm stepping into a place where, yes, it's difficult, but I need to be the person that I need, right? We talk about coaching and mentorship and things. I literally had an epiphany that, man, I need somebody like me who understands what I deal with. Not so much what's going on in the studio and how do you do this and how do you do that, but how do you handle your body shutting down,
Hmm.
but you have a deadline for a client? Or, there's a sync brief that you see that you want to submit to so your song can be played on this new show or film. but your body shut down and maybe you can't do it, or how do you push through that, right? So, my goal now, yes, I want to make the revenue, I want to reach those goals, but I'm purpose driven, I'm intentional. And I think literally just a day ago, I'm like, you know what, I want to dig even more into this purpose of how do you run a business whilst dealing with your health daily. So I don't mean no one-offs, not to say that's,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yeah, that I'm looking at, just being intentional. And then I recently just, again, because of the health challenges, honestly, man, just the last 4 months or so, my health really took a hit and I had to I really couldn't be productive at all.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to my wife who's been brilliantly supporting me and helping me and being encouraging and things. But I had to pivot about my services and my offers. And so now I'm doing a mixing and mastering subscription where I do those regular things of mixing and mastering while still coaching, still giving people what they need. And then I added another aspect because I'm in school for my PR master's, public relations. And I'm looking to do that as well because marketing and public relations and that strategy aspect I've been loving more and more. But I didn't know if I wanted to really jump out and do it. So I think I'm going to jump out and do it and see how that goes. So in the 3 years, I want to see all of these things really just have a mind of their own and see the growth. Like I said, making the revenue goals, but really just making sure I connect as always with the right people who need what I do well. Not just to say that I got a client, not just to say I made the 150 plus, but that Jastin changed my life, and it was more than just music, right? So those are the things that I'm more focused on right now.
I really like how powerful that is, helping, especially helping other entrepreneurs, businessmen going through those tough times. And I feel just the power behind that mission is so strong. I feel like it is also a very good fit. And from my perspective, is good to also think about how can you. It's just my opinion, but how can you do it gradually so you don't have to let go of one thing fully until that starts to actually work? I know that it's not about revenue, so I'm not talking about the revenue. I'm talking about how can you shift smoothly, let's say.
Great question, great thought. I'll just say one of the things that's great about my business A&R in the Pocket was I wanted people to just eradicate this mindset that you have to be signed to a label to get an A&R, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's true. If that works for you, great. If it works out, you reach that, phenomenal. But there are many of us that are independent A&Rs, some that have label experience and some that don't. As always, I think you just need one person to believe in you, right? To believe in the mission and what you do and your voice and the brand to move things forward. And I feel like I'm that person. And so I'm really navigating in that way and just being more confident about it. But the flip side for me was building a community, a network of independent professionals in each aspect of the music industry. Because I've met some phenomenal people that don't have a Billboard record, that don't have a Grammy or Emmy or whatever the case, but they're dope people. And I pray that one day that they do. So why do I not utilize these connections, bring work to them? We work hand in hand. So that ultimately is so Jastin doesn't have to do everything. So I can literally be the A&R, but I know sound enough to talk about. I know production, I know songwriting, I know branding, all of these different elements to just be able to sit back. And so as I make this current shift, that is what I'm planning to lean more into, is utilizing for the mixing and mastering subscriptions. Guys, I don't know if you'll hear this, but you probably know who I'm talking about. I have just two recent people I met just in the last few weeks that they're engineers. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have to mix everything. Or if I get into a place where I'm good and then I'm not, because that happens quite frequently, then I have a team of people that I can go to that can still handle it. And I can still do what I need to do, but I don't have to exert all that energy that takes so much out of me each day, at least as of late. So I definitely, like you said, I've never been one to just wait until it's all perfect, because perfection doesn't exist. I don't believe in that anymore. I actually embrace the imperfections. So let's get this sound. Let's know most of the ins and outs. And then as we go, we figure out that doesn't work. Or, Jastin, you definitely need more than two people to help you right now. So I am, and God's grace and support from many people, that transition can be very
Hmm.
smooth. But I think, Regin, even I guess if not, like you just learn from it and
Yeah.
attack it in a different way. Pivoting is my favorite word more than ever in the last like 6 years. So I just
Hmm.
learned how to move it, and then we go from there.
Nice. So when it comes to your idea, so you're thinking about staying within the industry,
Yes, of
right?
course.
It doesn't have
Yes.
to go outside the industry. So that
Yep.
makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Because I was thinking like, is it all entrepreneurs or is it within the, because if it's all, then it might mean a bigger shift. But if it's within the industry, you could still utilize all the connections. And so it just makes it much, much more
Yep.
easier and comfortable.
Yep. And again, I'm open to, because I'm understanding more. My versatility and diversity is huge. My connection with people oftentimes is probably one of the greatest things that I love doing now, right? So I'm not opposed to it. I can see it being in other industries. Just taking in a keynote concert speaker and sharing my stories and then performing, you're in front of all types of people. Like one minute it could be a college music program, or
Hmm.
another minute it could be a Fortune 500 company who's doing a leadership conference and they have me come. So I think not allowing myself to be confined to just the music industry allows me to go into other industries. I've already done it a bit, but like you said, if it starts to shift where I find high execs at corporate companies wanting to utilize my strategy and how I think about things, and especially if they have chronic health or they're dealing with a partner that has chronic health, I might be the person they want to talk to because, well, I have yet to really see it. I know there's more of us out there, but I think it's still, it takes a lot to be that brave
Hmm.
to battle, show that to people, express that to people, be honest about that with people, and they still see the value that you bring to them, despite, hey man, I got to reschedule because I'm not feeling well.
Hmm.
Oh, it's okay, Jastin, it's fine. Like, I can't wait to talk to you. It's rare. I do believe that. So hopefully, I'm just one of the few that really like stands up proud, and
Yeah.
we see where it goes.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thanks so much, Justin. It's been lovely to have you on the show. My final question is question I ask to every coach is what advice would you give to other coaches who are looking to scale their impact? And it could be from your perspective or an advice you'd give to yourself. Because
Yes.
oftentimes when I ask it, people think, who am I giving the advice for? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
actually you.
Well, thank you for that tidbit. I think it's kind of easier if you look at it to yourself, because then
Yeah.
somebody will find use. Well, first, thank you. It was a great pleasure to be able to talk about these things and just again put myself out there even more about who I am, what I do, and where I'm going. I think the biggest thing I might have to say to myself is continue to be confident. This journey is not about being right or looking good in front of the camera on these social media platforms. And even when people don't see your value, you have to be confident in what you do bring to the table. I think we're just in a world now that everybody has something to say, everyone's an expert, and respectfully, that's awesome. But sometimes people just don't get who you are and what you do. And you just got to be confident about what that is, because as they always say, the money will come, right? I've known since 18 or so that this was going to be a long journey for me. This wasn't just, let's like, get signed and blow up and all this stuff, right? I always felt if I got it too early, I would ruin it. And so I think that's one of the things that really keeps me going, is just being confident about who I am and what I am. And when people don't get it, sometimes, yeah, it hurts, but you got to keep going. I think that's the other thing, is not quitting. You can pivot, 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 pivot. You can change direction. You can slow down, but don't quit. I think that's another big thing, because especially in music, life happens, life be life, and as we like to say,
Hmm.
and people are just like, oh, I give up. I'm not going to do this anymore. Anything really can cause people to just stop. And I just think you can't. So I tell myself, don't stop, no matter how long it takes, no matter how long it takes for people to get it, they'll get it. And
Hmm.
then lastly, Regin, I'll say, acknowledge those people that do get it. Stay connected to those that do get it. I will say, man, the beauty post the pandemic, I am working and talking and building connections with people across the globe. And A lot of that, I think, is just because I'm confident about who I am. I'm upfront. I set expectations and people get it. And it's a beautiful thing. So I know the other things that I desire will come. But if I keep those core things, you can't get any better than that. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you for coming to our show. It was lovely to have you. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can look up Jastin Artis on LinkedIn, or they can go to jastinartis.com. You'll find your website there as well. You also mentioned that there's the Instagram as well. Is it the same?
yes, same
Justin
thing. Everything
Artis
on all
there.
channels.
Cool. So yeah, they will be able to find you there. So thank you again for today. This was great, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.